Armstead, CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of St. Lucie County. I am very thankful to have the opportunity to share with you the many things that we as an organization are doing in St. Lucie County, but also to present to you many people who allow us to do the things that we get to do. Today, I am honored to have a guest, Melanie Wiles.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm glad. I mean, we get to work every day together,
Yes.
so we can have a nice, fluid, 30-minute conversation about what we get to do each and every day. First and foremost, I want to just make sure that I bring people back to how we started. Then I want to talk a little bit about the present and some of the really exciting things we have going on in the future. And I know you've been here a long time. You've been here, I think this is your 12th year with Boys and Girls Clubs. You grew up in the ranks from a marketing director to a resource development professional, philanthropist, chief philanthropist officer, and now you're number 2. You're chief operating officer in well-deserved position. But talk to me from your own experience, the beginning of Boys and Girls Clubs.
So when I joined the club many years ago, I had the unique opportunity to meet a lot of our founders and trustees. Some of them are who are not with us any longer. But what was really interesting is that Boys and Girls Club started in one club in public housing now 25 years ago. And from its very humble beginnings, we've grown to 20 clubs, and we're located in neighborhood clubhouses in our schools. And really back then we had a wonderful founding board, and the founders Chuck Hill and Bob Minsky actually discovered what Boys and Girls Club was all about because they realized what were kids doing at that time after school. Chuck Hill was a principal and really was concerned for his own students and all of the students of St. Lucie County, wondering if parents were working, what was going to happen to the kids after school and during the summer as well. So they had the unique opportunity to discover Boys and Girls Club and to have a founding board at that time and really get this started. And so since then we had Dee Bowman, Linda Dusonic, Jack Kelly, Coach Fenn, who has since passed, other founders that stepped up to the plate and who have grown this immensely. So here we are today, 20 clubs later. We serve about, I want to say annually we are at about 4,700 club members. Wow. And we're closer to serving 15,000 kids in the community.
That's amazing. I mean, it started out with one club, and I think it's when you think about not just starting at one club, it was like those community leaders who got together and said, we have to do something. And let's face it, we're not the only game in town. I mean, there's lots of great organizations doing great things. But Boys and Girls Clubs as a national movement, been around 150 years, serve 4+ million kids annually. We are certainly in St. Lucie County doing our part in terms of the amount of kids we serve, what programs we offer them. But I want to take a step back before we even get into that. I want to talk about just some of the people who have just done some amazing things. You talk about those founders, but there's been plenty of board members over the years that have just done some extraordinary things. When you mentioned Charles Kumo, I mean, Charles, he left or retired from his position as a principal and still is with us with Boys and Girls Club years later. And I got to tell you, he gives us probably 30 hours a week of service. And you got to give it to him. And I know our board chair, Richard Del Toro, always calls him let me think of the name, a Hall of Famer. Yeah. He calls him a Hall of Famer because he truly loves the work that he does. And whatever you ask him for, he does it with an open mind and a willingness. Then you have our board chair who's been with us 5 years. He's ending his presidency or his chairmanship as a board member, and he's done an extraordinary job at taking us to the next level. And the board members prior to him, you had Charles was a board member, you had Stephanie Morgan, who was a board member. You had Nate Sperry, our chief of police, who was a board member. Actually, Nate served on the board 2 times and as a chair. And then our incoming chair, Leslie Christoph, the president of the Port St. Lucie Kaiser campus. And I mean, all the people that I'm mentioning are Hall of Famers in my book, and if I could steal that phrase, because they really are looking at the vision for our kids, and it's not a resume type of board. So I'm very proud to say that I have a strong board of leaders that are looking at making a difference in our community. I'm gonna kind of shy away off of them for a little bit and talk about, what are you as a chief operating officer? I mean, we know we have a job. You're an executive. Your job is to ensure that we are doing all the things that we say we're going to do and make sure that we're running our programs. But Melanie, why do you do it?
Well, I am very passionate about Boys and Girls Club because I'm very passionate about St. Lucie County and about our youth. And I know that if we invest in our youth at this young age, that they're going to become the productive citizens. And I truly believe that Boys and Girls Club gives us the best potential to make that happen. And there's so many partners in the community that are a part of these children's lives and these teenagers' lives. But I feel like we get to give that little extra something that pushes them to excel to be the best children, adults eventually that they're going to be. And I've seen many, being with the club 12 years now, I've seen our board that set the vision and to put us in the right neighborhoods, and to have the Boys and Girls Club of America backing to bring in the programming piece. And then also for our leadership, which I'm very proud of, to have that mentality of whatever it takes to invest in these kids' lives. So one of our alumni, and this is what keeps me going, is keeping in touch with these kids all of these years. Her name is Celicia, and she's one of our former Youth of the Year. And I was sharing a story about how one of my first experiences with her was just interviewing her. And this goes back to what the Boys and Girls Club instills in our kids. And one of the interview questions was, if she could meet anybody, who would it be, dead or alive? And so she said that she wanted to meet Jesus. And the question she would ask is, how is her brother doing in heaven? And I want to go back to that because it's very important to show that Celicia is a wonderful child that grew up in one of the roughest areas of our community. And all the odds were stacked against her, to include the fact that her brother had been murdered. But Celicia was building good character at the club. She was getting good grades at school. And, you know, through our Boys and Girls Clubs programs, now she's actually a productive member of society. She's graduated from college with her master's. She's on her way to law school. She keeps in touch with the club, and she wants to continue to give back. So that's what keeps me going. And then as a leader, that inspires me to always instill in my team that each one of them is the person that's going to make a difference in a child's life. It doesn't matter if it's through a special event. It doesn't matter if it's through being a club director. It doesn't matter if you're face-to-face with them as a program director. It's all of our jobs to make sure that we're doing whatever it takes to make a difference to bring them to that goal line.
Well, I know this. I know when you were selected, when I selected you as a chief operating officer, I knew that you had, number one, passion. I knew you were intelligent and smart, but I could say that in our organization that you do a great job at hiring people that have that equal passion, and that can enrich the lives of our youth, whether if they are a 6-year-old or whether if they are an 18, maybe 19-year-old, depending on where they are in school. But you mentioned a couple things. You mentioned like our partners, because obviously we talk a lot about what we do. I mean, we run the programs, we hire the people we hire the best. I feel we hire the best of the best in the different spaces, but we couldn't do it without partners like Children's Services Council. And when you think about a Children's Services Council who, in that after school, before and after school space, making sure we're keeping kids off the streets. They do a really good job at, number one, vetting the after-school providers. And then number two, I think they do a great job at listening to what the providers are needing in order to make the most impact in the community. I also want to talk about the school district. When you look at St. Lucie Public Schools and you look at our partnership, we're in 15 of their locations. And of course, they're the educators and they do a wonderful job. And if you look at some of their statistics, they continue to rise to the occasion. As a Boys and Girls Clubs or as an enrichment program after school, we get to partner with them and really give the kids some of the same things that they are learning in school, but just in a different way, more of an enriching way. And maybe it's not the mathematics that they would learn in the classroom, but we're certainly teaching them math. And so I'm very happy to have partners like that, and the United Way, of course. I mean, the United Way has been around a long time, and just other community partners. When you look at the city of Port St. Lucie, and you look at Mayor Orvac and what his goals are, and how we're working together to come to a comprehensive place where every kid has an opportunity for success. We look at Fort Pierce, you look at Mayor Hudson, the same. I mean, we're able to knock on their doors, and really, without them, we couldn't be as successful as we are. You look at Howard Tipton over at the county and what they do to ensure that youth have an opportunity. And, I was thinking about Howard recently and some decisions that their board has made, Board of County Commissioners, in terms of the youth program in the summer. I just lost my mind on it for a second, but it allows kids to work in different spaces across the county, and we benefit from that because we'll hire some of those young people, and then we end up hiring them full time or part time during the school year. So there's just so many wonderful partners out there. As we continue on this journey, I want to get a little bit more in depth of some other things. Like I want to look at some of our current programs, like what's working, because we're not in a box. We're really looking outside the box, and I think we're looking to see what is it that our community wants, or what are the needs in a specific school or a specific neighborhood. And then I want to look at some of the really exciting things that I know you and I talk about every single day, on what we want to see happen in the future, and some of the community partners that are allowing us to get to that place. So I want to give you guys an opportunity just to understand some of the things that we're doing as a club. And this conversation that Melanie and I are having today is really a typical conversation in a day in the life of a COO and a CEO, to figure out what is it that we're going to do to enhance our community partnerships. We have a short video that we want to share with you on a national stage of what we're doing with our 4+ million kids across the country, but we believe that we are the leaders right here in St. Lucie County.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. The sounds of tutoring and tech and health and fitness and arts and music. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
Welcome back to our second half of our show. This part of the show, we're going to talk about what we have going on today. and then we want to spend a few minutes to talk about some very exciting things that we have going on in the future. So Melanie, we have so many cool programs. It was a couple of years ago that you and I were having a discussion about we would tell the community we're doing homework help. And one of the things that we knew that we had to change was the level of people or employees who were administering the homework help. And so we've been privileged to be able to employ 16 teachers, certified teachers from the St. Lucie Public Schools, which has been enormous for us. I believe growing from 4 years ago, 20-something hundred members to 4,600 plus members attributes to parents understanding that we have some real learning going on while the kids are still having fun. But I don't want to talk about education so much now. I want to talk about some of our programs that are fun, some of our programs that are really going to grow our kids. And I want you to help me with this, to talk about even some of those, some of our sponsors and donors and board members that allow us to do certain things because of their involvement. So I was just thinking of one. Last year, we wanted to be in Forest Grove Middle School, and we wanted to do a morning program because, quite frankly, between us and the schools, we saw that parents were dropping kids off, and we wanted to give kids an opportunity to have a safe environment, but parents also feel safe that when they drop their kids off, they had a good place where they can learn and get those brain juices flowing. Tell me how that all came about.
So our initiative at Forest Grove was very interesting because, as you mentioned, it started as a partnership with the school district, and then we wrapped in their social emotional learning piece. Children's Services Council expressed an interest in helping us as well to bring that fruition of engaging middle school students. And then to top it off, Philip Bush, who's been a longtime supporter with the Peter W. Bush Family Foundation, stepped up to the plate to really make that a reality. And we were able to start the club with 25 members. We carried it over into a summer program. And so we're there every day for those kids. And we have specialized programs for tweens for that age group, and they're enjoying themselves every morning there at Forest Grove now.
That's awesome. And then I know that there's so many other programs we have going on. I mean, that we don't have enough time on this show, but what are some of your favorites? And talk about, like, I want you to talk, like, I think about Tommy at the moment, you know, because he's really engaged. I mean, it's not even just programs, like, you know, I'm going to steal one real quick if you don't mind. We had our first ever flag football this past summer. And, you know, we had somebody who was in charge of the education, Tommy John, and he's done a great job in terms of the education. But he's passionate about taking that education to the field. And, man, the kids had such a wonderful time. And I know there's so many more of those things that you have put on the plates of your team members. So kind of walk through that.
So one of mine that's very passionate to me is our opioid program. I actually sit on the Treasure Coast Opioid Task Force, and so listening to the beat of the community about how these drugs are influencing our families' lives, and even, you know, trickling down to having more children in foster homes and away from their families, we took the initiative as a Boys and Girls Club to do something about it. And so for my vision, it was really, what can we do with our teens? What can we do with the younger kids? And so we have this great program where we're educating them and engaging them in a way where they're becoming the advocates for the community. They're teaching about the level of addiction, and they're teaching parents and other community members about what we can be doing as a group right now to stop this epidemic and to improve the lives of our children here.
It's awesome. You know, we're in the process of our Youth of the Year program, and it was amazing to kind of hear the kids talk about opioids and their openness about it and how it affects their community, and and we're talking 9th graders, 10th graders, how they feel like they can have an impact on the community. I know there's a few other big programs that you and I talk about every day. So you want to share a few other ones?
One other really large one is our current workforce development program. And we're in our infancy still, but it's it's incredible where that's moved. So this past summer, we were able to grow our teen membership because a partnership with Career Source, Research Coast, Children's Services Council, we had Economic Development Council involved as well, and several other donors that stepped up to the plate. But we laid the groundwork to work with the kids on soft skills. We were able to do stipends so the kids received their first paychecks. They ended the program with resumes and really feeling comfortable that they could start out into the workforce. And this is kids starting as early as 14 years old that have that confidence now. And of course, we'll be building on that throughout the year. We wrapped it up really. One of our really great supporters, Mike with Nature's Grounds, introduced us to Everglades, and now we're building on a program where we can have the kids doing landscaping and involving them that way to continue to give them a paycheck, but also teach them those important skills, build that workforce that's going to feed back into St. Lucie County.
That's awesome. I mean, that's what it really is about. I mean, you and I, we can talk about all the great things that are happening, but in the end, the results are going to show when these kids get a little older, did we really do what we were supposed to have done for them? I was thinking about a couple of other folks that have been very intricate with us. So you take like A&G Pools, like it's been a few years now where the kids get to go to their shop, a multi-million-dollar pool company, and they've been a great partner with us, really giving kids so many opportunities to look at that a pool is just not, a tub with water, so to speak, but there's so many pieces to it. You have finance department, you have people who design the pools, you have architects, you have laborers. There's just so much. And I know you're working with so many other people out there, so share some of that, because it's very exciting to me.
One of the most exciting things about being in our 25th year is that we're celebrating our 25th anniversary. And so we've had time to reflect back on all of those people that have brought us so far and that have continued to invest in us. One of my favorite things for Boys and Girls Club is to connect someone in the community that would like to make a gift to change a child's life, and for us and me and my team to be that voice to say, this is what our kids need. And people like GL Homes, who have stepped up and donated with transportation, A&G Concrete Pools that have done the same. We have Southeast Elevator that just joined us to really inspire kids, and then other individuals such as Andrew and Robin Hunt. They're able to invest in Boys and Girls Clubs because they see the return and how we're able to provide something unique and transformational for our kids. So it's very wonderful to see people in the community that know what the need is, know how to connect it with Boys and Girls Club, and how we will trickle it down to the kids and actually change their lives.
Yeah, it's cool. Like when you look at 2019 was a really good year for our community, and I say it that way because Boys and Girls Clubs is a community partner. Like, we're an organization. We serve lots of kids, and we don't just serve them during the school year, but we serve them in the summer. And during the summer, it's just a busy shop. I mean, and to have kids for 10, 11 hours a day, you have to keep them busy. And it's not just basketball. There's field trips going on. There's resume writing, especially for our teens with this workforce development program. And when you talk about those companies that really stepped up this year, lots of companies, but those standouts is because that our kids needed transportation. They needed to be able to get to the A&G Pools, to the Southern Eagles, to the GL Homes locations. They purchased vehicles for us this year, and that's has been just, there's not even words to express the gratitude that we have. So we have about 3 minutes, and I know what's coming down the pike. I better know what's going down the pike as a CEO, but I know that you challenge me every day to make sure that we're giving our kids the best of the best, and that I could come down a couple notches and think about the details and not just the strategy of moving from one thing to the next, but how we're going to have an impact on kids. And you and I had a conversation, and I think in the next 2.5 minutes, I think we should dream a little bit out loud so that the community hears what our hearts and what our function is right now in terms of looking toward the future. When you talk about workforce development, like, what does that look like to you? Future workforce development.
So it's the best of the best for our kids.
Yeah.
So our kids want paying jobs.
Yes.
I mean, they're like everyone else. So how can we provide at a club level their first job opportunity? How can we partner and build on those talent and the beginnings of their skills? So there's some initiatives that we talked about, the landscaping, if they can detail vehicles. Maybe it's something that has to do with culinary that we're giving them as that first job experience. So I think that's where we're going with that, is that first job experience.
Well, what I do know is that, and I'm comfortable in saying this, is that we're more of we can do it. Like, we're going to do it. It's just how we're going to get there. And we're not going to wait too long to get there because there are enough community partners. In terms of giving our kids a world-class experience, and that word world-class is usually associated with an athlete most of the time. And so I know that we're working on, making sure our programs, the fidelity of our programs are the best that they could be. But we're also looking at our facilities. We're looking at, upgrading, like CSC just upgraded our laptop computers and that sort of thing. Anything else you want to throw out there as we close this?
We're just really thankful. We have a committee that's hardworking, that's working on transportation, those world-class facilities, and our programs. That's part of our 25th anniversary. That's going to be something that we're unveiling to everybody to be a part of and invest in as well. But ultimately, that will give the kids the experience that will bring them to the finish line.
That's good to hear. And we got many years to work together. And I'm looking forward to really us challenging each other and challenging the community to work together, make sure that the spaces make sense. Let's not have open buildings. And I'm not just talking Boys and Girls Clubs. I'm talking after-school programs because it's so important for our community. So thank you for being our first guest of the year.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us. There's going to be so much that we're going to want to share with you over this next 12 months. We're going to have some board members. We're going to have some community leaders. I'm going to be so excited to present to you some of our youth and some of the families. So thank you for joining us, and look forward to seeing you soon.